Good evening, TNT family. I want to welcome you back to Yellow is a co-program on UNC USA. And tonight I have Mr. Vetsi Ram, Suman Singh, Mr. Wayne Alonso, manager of Toko Sandy Grande, and Mr. Arjun Haripur with us here. And gentlemen, we saw some interesting developments where the governor of the central bank is contradicting our prime minister on her claim about a forex cartel that dominating who have been dominating the country, and her objective was to deal with that. And then we see in the governor of the central bank making statements like there is no forex cartel. I mean, that is totally unacceptable. But now I saw another development where um, our Minister of Planning, Mr. Swat Singh, challenging the governor of the central bank on his statement. So, Mr. Sriram, I want to welcome you because this is more up your avenue and alley here. Back to the Yellow is the Co program, and if you can give us a little how to say version of how you think about things and the way you see things going in this context here.
Thank you, Gary, and good evening to all listeners, and special greetings to the panelists. Um, I think on a conventional definition of cartels, you would not find that. However, the behavior in the industry, in the banking industry, and with corporate Trinidad, definitely there are elements, strong elements of cartel behavior. And when you look at cartel behavior, there are about four definitions or ingredients of it, right? One is price fixing. We are not talking about price fixing here. Secondly, we should focus on the allocation, unfair allocation of a scarce resource based on unspoken, unspoken. And this is where the problem lies. That there's a definitely a an unfair allocation of the scarce foreign exchange to special sectors of society. And that is where I would consider the behavior is very much cartelized, if there's a word, such a word. So, to come out in the open and say there's no cartel, there's no cartels in the traditional definition of it, where people get together, businesses get together, and they decide how to share up the foreign exchange. It is being done very quietly in an unfair manner to a large section of Trinidad society, and that alone should fulfill the definition of cartels. That alone. So it's not a question of traditional definition or where's the proof, etc., etc. What we are concerned about is the fairness of distribution. Is that the practice in Trinidad and Tobago? And the answer is no. The answer is no. So there's no debate about that. There's no debate about that. 300 million US dollars for the importation of cars. Why? I want to be honest with you. Trinidad have enough stock of cars in this country to take us over the next 5 years. We don't need any more. We don't need any more tractors. We don't need any more trucks. You go to many of the large contractors, and they have a quarter mile of new trucks lined up. It doesn't make sense. We have to look at this now very seriously as a country to say where should we be spending our scarce foreign exchange. And I think that is where the focus should be. So I think the governor may have unnecessarily muddied the waters, um, and I think maybe he should retract that statement that he made. And Dr. Suraj Singh, let him now, let him now explain the reasons why, and why the prime minister said it. Now, I didn't have a problem if the governor had called the prime minister and said, look, give me some reasons why you said what you said, but rather to come out in the open and so easy in the administration to contradict. I think that was a major mistake by the central bank governor.
I find that highly unacceptable. And in my view, and you have been writing about FCB hoarding forex, and we have seen so much of that from the time the PNM took office, getting forex to travel for your to support your children overseas. I mean, for the small man, everything became totally difficult. Under this former administration. So, I mean, for us, in our view, as the ordinary people on the street, there seemed to be an obvious cartel dominating, the forex and how things have been going on, and I mean, so you could, I mean, from my point of view, I think that this is obviously there is some form of cartel or syndicate dominating the how the money runs.
Yes, I thoroughly agree with both of you guys, but I look at it from a different angle in addition to what you are saying. But I feel this is creating fodder for the PNM and the press to feed on this notion and really have Imbert look like a king. And to and on in addition to that, there is no data to substantiate what he's saying. Where is the data to show that there is no cartel over the unfair distribution of forex? Where is the data to show that, in other words, who are the large consumers of forex for the past 9 years? What sort of percentages you're talking about of the totals, right? Is the 1%, the total is 50 billion dollars. What is the percentage that the 1% does get? How much of that? And then you're going to see most of it are for consumerable items, motor vehicles and so on. A lot is food importation of exotic fruits, I will say, because I've been back home for the past month and I didn't see one orange selling. I couldn't find an orange up to now. Every week I travel, I see a lot of foreign stuff, both in the supermarket and on the streets as well, but nothing local. I mean, something is wrong. So a lot of
Well,
forex.
Mr. Singh, I mean, we have seen the difficulties, I mean, that the farmers face, with getting the simplest things done, right? We have seen the difficulty with the flooding, the infrastructural issue, total negligence. I mean, we have seen pictures, of the infrastructure, the roads and the bridges, and the difficulty with the flooding that these farmers have dealt with, in the last 9.5 years, and everything that the UNC government did between 2010 and 2015 to kind of, alleviate the flooding issue and make things a little more productive went down the drain. It was flushed down the drain into the sea. I mean, even the simple thing as cleaning the river, they couldn't do that. And we've seen all the pictures where as soon as we took government, we went out there, and the amount of cleaning and hard work that our team had to do there. Our Minister of Local Government was out there. Our Minister of Works, I mean, she's ongoing, 7 days a week. You've seen them out there, trying to deal with these issues of the negligence. And so these are some of the issues, I mean, that caused us to be in a difficult situation. So there was one or the other. I mean, there was so many issues that from this government, from the forex, from the restraint of finance to ability, they could basically cripple the country. This is how I see it. Mr. Siram.
Yes, I think we should recognize that all the schools were ready for opening, and I think that has not happened over the last 10 years. So I think we should flag that as a major achievement for the new government. Um, I think as well that I had given the Prime Minister an easy solution, an easy fix to the foreign exchange for the short term, and instruct FCB in particular to reduce their hoarding position of over 1.2 billion US dollars and release it in the market over the next 3 to 6 months. So the government don't have to go through central bank for that, because FCB is a majority owned by the government. So they can just instruct FCB, call in the chairman. The chairman said, the new chairman, I think they'll be installed probably later this month. But he said his first objective is to address the foreign exchange. But we don't have to wait. We don't have to wait. Government can initiate that action and ask the central bank if they can supply what are the policies of the various banks with regards to distribution of the foreign exchange. Just ask for a policy decision by the different banks. What is their policy? Who, how do they choose who to give and who not to give? In the meantime, the parliamentarians could invite their constituents that if they have any complaints with regards to the non-receipt or non-availability of foreign exchange for the businesses, etc., is that the parliamentarians could collect that information. So don't wait. They don't have to wait. That is the one. Crime and foreign exchange are the two major issues facing this country now. In the meantime, medium to long term, we'll have to look at diversification, etc. But those are the two major items that this country has to address. I think crime is being addressed quietly. If it is true that there were only 22 murders last month, that will be 12 by 22, maybe 240, 250 murders for the year annualized, compared to 5 and 600. So that's a major, major dent. With regards to the foreign exchange, I suggested two things to the Prime Minister. One is to instruct all the banks no hoarding, zero hoarding. If you want to hold any excess foreign exchange, it must be not more than 5% of your US dollar liabilities. Secondly, tell the insurance companies that the last government increased their foreign holdings, foreign investments in the investment portfolio from 20% to 25%, reduce that now to 15%. And the central bank has all the numbers. Ask the central bank how much, what would be the impact of the foreign exchange coming into the country. But let's put something in context, which I've repeated many times. 1 billion US, 1.2 billion US dollars is enough to provide for all the food imports. Not to say that we want to continue that level, but at the moment, if FCB release those funds, we can get 1 year importation of food. That is equivalent to about if we saying 1 billion, that's equivalent to one that's equivalent to 1 month's import of everything. So one institution holding this country to ransom, that is not acceptable. Hoarding is not acceptable any way you twist it. Hoarding is holding on to inventory, holding on to a variable at the time of acute shortages for the sake of profiting from a change in price. So that is not acceptable, and FCB is a national bank. Let them release that money. There's tomorrow, in fact, tonight, the Prime Minister could write FCB and instruct them to so do. They don't have to wait for the new board to come in. They don't have to wait. So we have to be very aggressive in a very professional manner to deal with the issues facing us. You look at Argentina. They're not waiting. They're not waiting to call board meetings and sit and discuss and get advisors to provide their recommendations and wait for 6 months before you do anything. This is simple, very simple. If I was Minister of Finance, I would immediately write the FCB, copy the central bank, and say reduce your stock, foreign exchange stocks within 6 months. If you don't accomplish that goal, whatever remaining, sell it back to the central bank. Sell it back.
We've seen Elias made a statement about devaluing the dollar, and right away I said no way in hell that we should do that. And I saw just seen Minister of Finance responding and said that there will be no devaluation. I mean, what's your opinion on that, Mr. Seeram? I mean, I
Okay.
think that's a good way to go.
I've made a joke of this, I've made a joke of this. I said if we want to maintain a strong currency, why not put it 5-1? Nobody could answer. Nobody can answer.
I mean,
The
how
Prime
can
Minister gave a commitment.
Barbados not all maintain such a strong value for dollar, and we have to devalue our dollar so many times, so to
No,
such
no,
a low.
Barbados, every country is different. Every country is different. My understanding of Barbados, right? If monies are coming in, via tourism, and you have a supply and demand that is virtually, in equilibrium, you don't have a problem. But a few years ago, people don't know. A few years ago, Barbadian could not get foreign exchange to travel.
Correct. Yeah, I remember that.
Companies operating in Barbados could not pay out dividends. So they had a very difficult situation going forward. The government just held tight, and the economy has expanded since as a result of the opening up of the tourism again. But if they have flows coming in, it's not a problem. You don't have to devalue. But we are not in that position. We have been negative with regards to supply of US dollars for the last 10 years and more. We have been in difficulty. And if we have to diversify the economy, one of the levers the government can pull is the exchange rate. Now, I will never um, suggest that we leave it open to the market as in Jamaica and as in Guyana, because there'll be a runaway. So my recommendation is to devalue to 10-1. If you don't want to devalue, then you have other means of what I would call redirecting the economy for diversification, and that would require negative listing. One is negative listing, and secondly is duties on the high valued items. Let government collect at the port. Let government collect at the port. Um, so if you don't want to devalue, I don't have a problem, but you have to institute other measures. But devaluation takes care of a lot of things. On the one side of the coin is going to impact on the cost throughout because our propensity to import is too high. Just imagine, we are importing 90% plus for our foods in this country that is blessed with good weather, blessed with rainfall, blessed with good what you call soil, and we are still importing 90%. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Well,
So
that
that is
that
where
seems to be by
diversification
design to
comes
put
in.
the money in certain people's pocket, right?
Correct.
Well, yes, because there are a lot of the businesses do not want to change the model, because the current model is very simple. I have privileged access to US dollars and I import. So when the banks don't give the SMEs who are competing with the large corporation, they ultimately give up and fall out. You know how many closures? If you can do one survey, and this is easy for the government to do, or forget the government, the UNC members of parliament in their own jurisdiction, they can go and find out all the closures of SMEs as a result of non-availability of foreign exchange. And that is what this central bank governor should be doing, basic research. And you will find that the current system is stacked against the smaller businesses, medium-sized businesses, and individuals. So,
But he will show up the PNM there if he exposed that information. But the amount of business they crippled based
I
on
am
their
saying,
management style,
no,
and wouldn't he be showing up the PNM? I don't think how I would want to do that, right?
no, Gary, do you know within the UNC,
We wanted to do
or
that, but what
within
I'm
the
saying,
normal population. We have a lot of very good researchers, very good researchers, and do basic research and get all this information out so we can make firm decisions. We can make proper decisions. We can do it. How many of us did research papers for our first degree and second degree, walking all my arrow and so on, collecting information on, so that is simple. It's very simple. I consider management of this country very simple. Who want to make it complex can, but if you break down all complexities, a combination of very simple things, and knowing management is knowing what to do and doing it. Two components, knowing what to do and doing it. And I think with Gregory Hill and these guys, they have their biases. So I don't know what advice the minister is going to get. What advice the minister is going to get. And I think this is
Gary, can
where
I ask
it
a
is worrying,
question?
but we have to keep
Oh
firm
yeah,
and
go
keep
ahead. Feel
knocking
free
at
to
the
jump in
door.
anytime,
Sorry?
I think
Well, I
that's
wanted
Wade,
to
right?
ask. I wanted to ask Mr. Siraram, just to kind of think outside the box a bit. And I'm asking this based on some information that I also have. That the maintaining of the current exchange rate, could it be possible that that in itself could be fueling a black market system to the benefit of the very 1%? I ask that because I know of a number of traders, people in the sheeting industry, the lumber industry, that has to do, they must import machinery, especially coming out of China and Australia and some of those countries. And they don't have access to the bank's rate. And so they have to go through their suppliers where they are paying as much as 9.5 to 1 US dollar in order to get their machinery and their material imported. And I'm wondering if the reason for the retaining and not wanting to devalue, and I'm really agreeing with the position that you are taking, to really devalue, because it will create a level playing field for everybody, and it will also trigger the need to diversify the type of goods that we do import. So in itself, it could be there to maintain that status quo. And from now that I'm listening to you guys, could there be plans in the government to keep that status quo going? So it's a kind of two-edged question that I'm putting out.
Well, I would like to pose that question to Gregory Hill. What is he going to advise the Minister of Finance? And that would be Gregory Hill's position, because they have access to US dollars. And you're correct. You're so correct, because what is happening now, let's say there is a competition, importation of cars, and the large corporations are buying US dollars at 6.7, and the other smaller companies have to buy it at 8 and 9 to 1. Aren't they disadvantaged? But let's say two companies are importing cereal, that is cornflakes. One can buy the US dollars at the 6.75, and the other one has to pay $9. Aren't they disadvantaged? So sooner or later, they're going to fall out the industry. They're going to have to close up shop because they cannot compete. And I think this is where the central bank governor has to be cognizant of these facts. They have to be cognizant of these facts. When you go to a bank now, and the bank has a large corporation, they'll say, no problem, how much you want, and I'll sell you at the 6.75. When an SME goes, and I've seen this and I've investigated it, when an SME goes, the banks tell you, I don't have foreign exchange, but I could lend it to you. I could lend it to you. Now, you lend $1 million to this SME, and the repayment now sometimes are in US dollars. So the SME gets the million US dollars, and he buys his goods, and he turns over in 1 month or 2 months. He turns over, but he has to still pay the loan over 12 months. If there is a
At a higher
change in
interest rate.
exchange rate
At a
over
high
the
interest
remaining
rate, right?
11 months, he's out of pocket, but he's disadvantaged. So sooner or later, something like that, the SME goes out of business. So these are the injustices in the system, that the central bank, they are you know, they are in the ivory tower and they do not know what is happening in the market. They never know. They don't walk the streets. They don't know. And
Gentlemen,
for us who are experienced in banking, for years, the banks have suffered this country with the add-on rate. I don't know if you all are familiar with that. The
I
add-on
think I've
rate, and
had
Central Bank did
with
nothing.
it.
I wrote them about it. And
Yeah.
finally, when I wrote articles about it, the banks came out, that is Richard Young, and they came out one day as if out of the blues, they got the goodness of heart. They announced that they are no longer using the add-on rate. But do you know how many individuals that they have sunk into depression? There was one client I had who was prepared to commit suicide as a result of some of these transactions that the banks were doing on them. And when they came to me, they came to Robin Montano, and I helped fight the case, and they got relief. But where are we seeing all of that? And that is why I've been stuck to my guns to deal with these issues in the banking sector. I've offered these services to the government on many occasions, but I'm not too sure if there's a window still open. But bread and butter issues must be dealt with to tell the citizens of the country, all citizens, whether they vote PNM or whether they vote UNC, all of them, we are the government are here to protect you all. And this is what I call bread and butter issues. Bread and butter issues.
Arjun, you had to say
yeah,
something. Go ahead.
yeah, I wanted to add to what Ved is saying there, and to just point out as well that there, in a lot of instances, you have SMEs who've been forced to rely on their credit cards because of the inability to access foreign exchange in the banks. They would have had to fund overseas purchases for their supplies. And I know of several small roll on, roll off people, for example, who are competing with the big conglomerates. They would actually import vehicles for sale using credit cards. Now, you know the rate of interest on credit cards. It could be as high as 30%, right, Ved?
Well,
And
I'm glad you brought up credit card because that has been a major issue for me, and I would be delighted to let's discuss it further. But you're
no,
correct, at 30%, how could you survive compared
well,
to
yeah,
these
so
fellows who are getting
can't
it?
compete. You can't compete with the guys who and call them cartel, call them whatever you want. You can't compete with the guys who, as you say, are buying the foreign exchange at 6.8. You are buying it using your credit card, but having to pay these huge bills in terms of interest costs. So you can't really compete. And you are bearing the brunt of the cost. So you call it cartel, call it whatever you want. It's an unfair system where the smaller guys are being penalized. And
Now,
just to add,
Go
sorry, and
ahead.
just to add to this whole debate that's going around where, you know, the point is being made that the burgeoning um, consumerism that we are seeing in terms of credit card usage and so on, that's all well and good to say on the surface, but when you go below it, you will realize that a lot of SMEs have had to, in the last 10 years, finance their operations using their credit cards. And it is in the bank's interest, as that article that I shared earlier, the article suggested that it is in the bank's interest to share out credit cards. I mean, I've been getting calls from everywhere. Come for a credit card. Because the profits that they make on credit cards are humongous. So it is in the
What's
interest of the
the
bank
line there?
to push you in that direction.
What is the credit line they're offering? Are there limits?
Well, the limits have been coming down recently, as we know, but up until recent times, businesses
Yeah.
who could not have access foreign exchange in the normal way would
Right.
supplement their purchases using their credit cards. And if a
Right.
man
Right.
had three and four credit cards, when you add it up, it adds up.
Right.
but
No.
But the
No. The thing
cost
about
of
it,
let me
the cost of
how do we
financing your
control it?
business using
yeah.
credit card, I'm saying, creates an unequal and an uneven playing surface. That's the point I'm making.
But
Well,
could
you
I
see, the thing
expand
about
on
it,
that if you don't
devaluing the
mind?
dollar, right? Devaluing the dollar doesn't stop. Say you raise, so we say we devalue the dollar for $9, according to Elias saying. What's stopping somebody selling it on the black market for 14 and 15?
Well, the
Right? So
rate,
that
no,
has to
but Gary,
control.
the rate, unless you are convinced that $9 or $9.50 or whatever will clear the market, right? And the foreign exchange market a lot more hinges on the foreign exchange market than just demand and supply. People are going to continue to speculate. And once there's a speculative element, you don't know what rate is going to clear the market. And Ved spoke about hoarding. And who are we to say that those people who holding large balances of foreign exchange and are holding it for speculative purposes, expecting that a devaluation is going to come.
Or trying to force the country in that direction.
Well, that too. And you see, so saying that a devaluation is going to solve our problem, I am not convinced that it would, because I don't know that 950 will clear the market. And unless it clears the market, okay, you're not going to solve the problem. You're just pushing the problem further down the road. And the other thing is, for those who say we should not devalue, okay, I'm okay with that as well. But you can't stop there. You have to tell me, as Ved has hinted a little bit earlier, if you're going to say we're going to maintain the status quo at 6.8, then you have to tell me what other policies you are going to be putting in place to clear the market. And unless you come up with creative solutions, and he spoke about quantitative limits and so on, but unless you come up with a package of creative policy solutions which will clear that market, bring demand and supply into equilibrium, then holding the foreign exchange, just saying, well, we maintain instability because inflation will run out of control and all of that stuff, is not going to buy it. You have to supplement that with the appropriate monetary and exchange rate policies.
Yeah, I just want to go back to the credit card, and you're correct. Let's say the SME has to borrow money via the credit card at 24 to 26 to 30%, whatever that is. And when they buy inventory to bring it in, so they are stuck with that credit card balance. They can't pay it off at the end of the month because the cycle of sales and receivable collection and so on might take about 2 to 3 months. So they are stuck with a high balance at the end of the month, and therefore their cost of borrowings is very high to purchase US dollars at 8 and 9% in the market. So that combination of very high interest rates plus the high cost of the US dollars is going to sink these companies. Ultimately, is going to sink them. Unlike a large corporation who will borrow below prime meaning below 7%, prime minus 2, maybe 5% compared to 30, and buying US dollars at 6.7 compared to 9, you can see right away these are the unfairness in the market that central bank is legally obligated to address. If you look at the mandate for central bank is to ensure equitable equity in the financial market. So they cannot get away from that. And I think we need very strong voices, whichever medium we want to use. Ultimately, I've been writing a lot about it, but I'll probably start speaking out at forums and so on to get these things corrected, because cockroaches survive in the dark, Corruption survives in silence. So these are the things the government has a chance to expose. And I must say the Prime Minister has taken those steps, and she has to be encouraged and supported. There will be mistakes, but that's fine. But we have to look at the overall approach to correcting all these things for the benefit of the ordinary citizens. And this foolishness about special large corporations getting privileges and so on has to stop. And that is why we have institutions, regulators. They also must do their work. They can't get into position and clinker wine glasses and so on a Friday evening and feel that they have justified their paycheck for the month. It can't be like that again.
I don't support the idea of devaluation. You can't come back from devaluation. I think it would make it harder for the Commonwealth. But what I do support and would like to see is that we put some kind of structure in place to monitor and control how the banks treat our people, and also that we do everything in our power to obstruct the black market. I mean, black market is something that is always going to exist. You have to fight it. But if the bank is doing the right thing, then you're not forced to go into the black market. So I think the foreign exchange should, number one, we are fighting here, all fighting here for people to be treated equally. We do have to reduce the level of food import by creating mass food production locally. And like you guys already referenced many times, the tomatoes that we can grow in the country here has been imported from other country. And in the meantime, the common guy on the ground is facing all kind of difficulty in getting his business up and running, or he needs a little assistance, whether it's a loan or to rectify some issues with the land or the flooding. There's so much, they make it such a complicated issue in trying to resolve the simplest thing for the farmers. And I want to see these things dealt with, all these bureaucracy being dealt with. We deal with the infrastructure. I think if we're already on the ground getting some flooding issues dealt with, there's a lot more to be dealt with. But I think that's the best way to go in dealing with the infrastructural issue, and give all the necessary assistance to the farmers to create that mass production, the encouragement, in that direction. And then we could, work gradually. But we need to put a structure to monitor the banks and how they handle these foreign exchange and how they treat the people.
Yeah.
But Gary, we have to, there's a major indicator that we as a country have to look at and use that now as a target to bring it down. Our propensity to import is too high. So let's say our propensity to import food is over 90%. Why can't we bring that down over the next 5 years to 50%? In Ghana, it's about 30 some percent. Now they're probably going up with all that money circulating. So we can establish that what I would consider a realistic target over the next 5 years to be self-sufficient in food. Now this would require a comprehensive strategy. For example, what are the basic things that we import? There's a huge import content on the chicken. Whilst we're growing the chicken here, if all the feed is imported. Do you know we can grow the necessary feed right in Trinidad and create employment and keep that money in Trinidad? So feed is one. So therefore, once we are self-sufficient in chicken by way of zero input from external, that means no US dollars. The second one is potatoes. We can grow potatoes here. So a combination of sweet potato for chips and a combination of aloo for the normal chips, right? Jamaica started that program to grow Irish potatoes a few years ago, and they were very, I would say, not mechanized. But I think now they're in a position to probably feed themselves. They may probably still be importing, but we can do it here. We can do it here. Don't tell me we can't produce enough tomatoes to feed ourselves. Yes, we can. When Mr. Mohammed was the Minister of Finance, they had banned the importation of a few things, including tomatoes, and within a few months we are up and running. So what if the tomatoes is a little more expensive than the average price? So what? But we are keeping that. We are keeping that is what you call deepening the economy and keeping the money to circulate locally. Because when you pay an employee, uh, let's say $5,000 for the month, and their propensity to import is 90 some percent. All that is a call on the US dollars. And that is where the economists have not really done a good job in analyzing how to save foreign exchange. So once you go local, even if it's a slightly more expensive, for example, sugarcane, you tell me we can't go back in the sugarcane industry and produce the sugar for ourselves. We need about 80,000 tons. We used to produce about 300,000 tons. We don't need that amount, so we can do it. Rice. At one point we were about probably about 30-40% of our demand. We can do that again with rice. What about cocoa? We exporting cocoa and then we importing cocoa. We are fueling. We are funding shipping costs. The other major area, and this is where we can install or start immediately, is recycling. We ship out all our scrap iron. It goes to China or Turkey or wherever. We pay shipping costs to send it out, and then we pay shipping costs to bring it back. We can establish small scale industry here to do recycling, and that's a massive industry. We can learn from India, we can learn from other countries and do it. Put just where's the plan? Ministry, where's the plan? Ministry of Planning, where is your plan to diversify this economy? Minister of Agriculture, where is your plan for us to be self-sufficient in food over the next 5 years? Where's your plan? And the plan is simple. We have enough grass to feed all the goats that we need and all the sheep that we need. I don't know. You know, when I worked in my last organization, we never waited. We never waited. When we're developing products, we never waited to have a full comprehensive plan to go through board of directors and go through everything and wait a year or two before you get approval. You just say, what is the cost of implementation on a small scale? Let's get it done. Let's get it done. And I think that is where the Prime Minister has to ask all her ministers, what are your plans for the next 12 months? What are your plans for the next 12 months? They could send it to me. This group has some very very experienced person that I'm not seeing as yet on the landscape, on a managerial landscape, governmental landscape. I'm not seeing it. You're seeing Gregory Hill. Where did he come from? What is his area of expertise? What new products has he ever developed in the capital market? Sure, he has raised some bonds. He knows the people here and there in terms of investors. But what creativity has he done? Anyway, I just living in hope for the time being. People have not really. I say don't devalue for the next 12 months, but there are plenty things to be done. For example, again, government could raise revenues with regards to duties on what you call luxury items. You send it up 100%, 200%, and on the cheap on the basic items you drop it to zero duties. Get rid of VAT. That is taking up too much administrative space, and the government is exposing themselves to litigation by not paying back VAT. So there's too many things to be done, and the Prime Minister, unfortunately, at the end of the day, the buck stops with her. So it's a question of pointing people in position that she's confident, who has the knowledge, but not just the knowledge, who has the ability to implement, and who are loyal. Loyalty is extremely important. You don't want to appoint a scientist, a bright fellow, and they're not loyal. They'll undermine you overnight. Undermine you. But
Exactly. I know that's the way I see it. There's a lot,
so I don't
and
know
like
who
you
in the
try to
group
describe.
has some kind of influence on her, but I'm not happy with the things I'm seeing. I'm not happy with the things I'm seeing.
Well, I always say if we see something, make a recommendation. At least it gets to her, and don't go through anybody because
No,
that.
I agree with you. Patience is extremely important. Don't go outside and undermine us yet. Let's see how
Yeah,
things
no.
are
What I'm
going.
saying is, don't go through anybody because there's a lot of doorkeepers. We have direct access.
No, but
Let's do that, and let the prime minister decide on how she's going to go about it.
I
But we
know,
want to
but
make sure
Gary, you saw the letter
everything
I
gets
wrote to the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, Minister of Planning, Minister of Trade. I wrote to all of them.
yeah,
Very succinct, very
yeah,
succinct. What we can do, and in that is the recommendation to tell FCB stop the hoarding.
right.
I
Because
mean, I could write in the I can write in the papers again directly to FCB and copy Central Bank and say please implement. You know, a lot of there's a lot of what do you call it, square pegs and round holes.
That seems to be the
square
norm.
pegs and round holes, and
That is-
where are we going with that? The country do not have the luxury of money. We do not have the luxury of time. Once we accept that, then there's severe urgency in getting things done.
All right.
Severe urgency.
Hmm.
We don't have time. We don't have time. I explained to the country, I explained to the politicians that they are under reporting expenditure every year, every year. That is why within 6 months they're going to come back to the parliament for supplementary increase in the budget. They're going to do it. They're going to do it. I'm seeing it. So our deficit as they go along is over 12 to 13 billion dollars. Where are they going to fund it? Where are they going to fund it? That's why I'm saying there's significant urgency in getting these things corrected, and this is the last chance the government has to present to the parliament, to the country, the true state of affairs of government. Otherwise, they're going to get into trouble. They're going to get into trouble, and I hate to see PNM coming back into power and deceiving the country for 10 years. I hate to see it, but we have to level with the population, just as Argentina did, just as Millet did. He said, guys, things are bad, but give me a chance. I'm going to correct it by doing A, B, and C. And that is the kind of management required to turn around this economy.
All
We
right.
can't be hiding the facts from our own selves. We're hiding the facts from our own self.
And in my common sense, I think it's very doable. In that it is very possible to get done if we listen to the right people, if we listen to the people on the ground. And we've been on the ground. We know what the issues are. Is how do we manage dealing with it now going forward? And definitely we have to deal with the agricultural infrastructural issue. That is the greatest cry I'm hearing among the people there. There's some land tenure issues that has to be dealt with, but the flooding is causing a lot of sufferation and causing some people to lose business. And you really can't have people work so hard all year round and then for flood to come and wash everything down the drain. I mean, I don't think that's funny. If anybody understands, you can't be sitting in an air conditioned office and understand what the farmer
No,
goes
Gary,
through.
I think the ministers, they will do a very good job on that. I have full confidence because they're willing to work and they've been given the mandate to correct those things. That is
Yeah,
fine.
I see them out
That
there, but
has to
I'm
be
saying we
done.
need to move. Yeah, we need to put the greatest. I know they're working out there, so that's why I see. Definitely we have to deal with that infrastructural issue. That's the only way we can really get mass food production. I mean, I'm listening to the farmers. I had a guy the other day on the same program here, and I have another guy that's gonna come on. But the greatest cry is these guys. They're not even asking for much. They're just asking, in some place they're asking for electricity, and in some place they're asking definitely to fix the road, and fix the bridge where we at, and deal with the flooding issue, and we will take it from there. They're not asking for a lot.
Well,
You see,
at the core,
what really it comes down to availability of money, availability of money. And over the years, for example, many of the corporations, they said they don't get money to even buy diesel for the vehicle. So what's the point? So those are simple things that we could probably the bottlenecks can be cleared out so that we get
Easily,
some productivity on the ground.
easily.
That is not the biggest problem the government has is the bloated public sector. It's bloated. It's bloated. Then the promises that she has made. My suggestion is you all could talk to her. I'll be glad to talk to her if you all could arrange a meeting. Give civil servants a 4 days instead of 5. 4 days instead of 5. That's almost 25% increase. 25% increase. So there are certain things that can be done. Um, with regards to the banking, the depositors in the banks getting a less than 1%, government could easily introduce the savings bonds again. I don't know. I think many of us are old enough to remember you could have gone and buy a saving bond at the post office. So as individuals, as citizens, we are getting a much higher rate. That'll be 600% the rate that you're getting in the commercial banks. And government will be able to raise money on a long-term basis at a low cost compared to raising money in the capital markets and get participation of the ordinary citizen. So several things can be done. I'm not seeing it being articulated. That is the issue. Well, on Wednesday, the Ministry of Agriculture, they're having a what I would call a meeting among the citizens. I'm going to suggest several things that they could do immediately. Immediately, don't waste time. Don't waste time. We can start planting acres into trees and put CPEP, start working there, so we can see the productivity as the trees grow, and that will feed our the furniture industry. I asked the Minister of Trade. I said, Minister, hold a symposium for all the furniture manufacturers in Trinidad. They are being ignored for years. Hold a symposium. Let us see what they can do and cut off the imports for Courts and these fellas. They're importing all kinds of furniture that we can easily make here. You know, we have the raw materials and get going. All of that is to save on foreign exchange. So, you know, I'm considering Trinidad is poised at a very exciting time in their history. And either we take advantage of it or we let it, or we drop the ball and we continue as we've been going for the last 40 years, depending on gas and oil.
Well,
So,
if
Gary,
we don't capitalize on it, I see Dr. Maraj here. Welcome, Dr. Maraj.
Hi, how are you? Good to
Right,
hear you guys. Good to see you guys. How are you going?
yeah, hi.
Good,
Good,
good.
Hi, good afternoon, good
Always
evening.
good to hear you.
Well, we had welcome
Fine,
Nadira, Captain Singh, all the listening audience. Go ahead.
Yes. Yes.
Go ahead, Dr. Maraj. Go ahead, Dr. Maraj.
Yeah, lots of ideas, Well, I know you have lots of ideas. I always raise the issue of implementation because, you know, we could talk, and if we don't get it done, there's no sense. So when I wrote an article last December, I came up with a value of the exchange. I think it was 8 to 1, somewhere around that area. It may be different today than it was then, but I noticed everybody talking about 9 to 1, and you cannot. You know, they had a managed float. I don't know why they went into do a fix, because they had a managed float all along. That may be a better policy to adopt rather than the fixed exchange rate, which I think it seems that they're keeping it at they've been keeping it at 6 point. Am I right? 6.7.
6.75.
75. Around there. So the only way you can keep it at that strong level is you have to boost production. You have to increase the supply of foreign exchange, and that is what the whole diversification is all about. But diversification, I've been, since a little child, I was hearing about diversification since Eric Williams independence, and nothing much really happened. They tried, but they failed. And they have not learned from the failures, and that's a big problem. Lots of ideas, but you have to learn from the failures too. So I don't want to be. Ed is saying making some interesting points about this is an opportune time to have it. This is why we wanted the UNC to take over at this time, because there seems to be nobody else who might be able to do it. Forget the PNM. The other night I was saying that maybe a third party should come up and replace the PNM, because they really have done too many harms to Trinidad and Tobago for it to ever be a viable alternative to any policymakers in Trinidad and Tobago. So they should be out completely. But again, who knows? I mean, they could work magic and they could come back out. And I think we fear about they ever coming back, because I don't know what this will be. That will be a failed state. In fact, they almost made it a failed state already. The foreign exchange there seems to be an issue, and if we could avoid uses of foreign exchange, which is difficult, but we could try to minimize in the interim. The oil and gas could come up and pitch in here, but don't depend on that a whole lot. You still have to, otherwise they're going back to the same old, same old. So all these things that Ed is saying, I'm sorry, Ed. Sorry, Ed. Sorry, Ed. I'm calling you Ed. I hope you don't mind.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
What's in the name?
Yeah, I know. Because I know you by your voice now. I have heard you so often. So all these good ideas you have, we got to implement them. We have to get it going. And you know, it's talk. I noticed that the Minister of Finance will come up with a budget pretty soon, which I guess they're very soon at that, sometime in September. I hope look, he cannot work magic. And you know, what is my problem with listening to everything that is going on? That I noticed some of the things you're saying that they have to bite the bullet. You know. They made a lot of promises, and I'm a little that part is worrying me, because the promises that they made, and to go back now and try and reverse them, you got to be very, very smart and technical to give them something so they could hold on to all the promises you made, and you got to be technical. And she has the wherewithal to do it now. To let them hold on to something that, even though we made these grandiose promises, and you cannot say we thought they had more money, and everybody knew they didn't have any money, and everybody knew they did that. So that may not work. So I hope that in the budget that is coming up, that something will be tendered so that the people will understand they have to bite the bullet and they have to make some sacrifices. Learn from the, I don't know if, I know Sumit was around, but Ved, you may have been around with the Robinson time. Really what happened, we seems to be a kind of situation that is quite similar, although I think we are better off now than we were then. So those pluses, we could build on them and keep them going. And so I'm looking for a way to ask the population that some sacrifices are to be made, and this is the best we can do. And how do we answer the population who were looking for so much, but deep down they know, or they should know, that look, we couldn't get blood out of a stone, and therefore there are some harsh realities to come. It should not be for long, because for long would be bad. So it should be maybe for a little while, and some sacrifices will be made, but the horizon must be showing some positive and some optimistic in the horizon. So yes, we could hold on. And I remember in the Robinson time, a few people came out like myself and said that the better days are coming. So let's bite the bullet now, and we'll be okay in the near time. So let's give this one for hardship. Next year and the following year will be better and better, and then we know how that went. So all of us must prepare the population for what is to come. But we do not want to be harsh. I think that if you, and I think Ed also talked tonight about luxury items and importation and so on. And so what if, to learn from the Robinson example, it would be nice if we could, not nice, I wouldn't know what to say that, but it'd be good that we could buffer the population from what is to come. And in other words, you want to use the affordability and the sacrifices to be made. Those who are less fortunate should make less sacrifices. Those who are more fortunate should make more sacrifices, because the sacrifices are to be made in the short run for better gains in the long run. And so if we want to size up the population, even though we make all these good promises, we'll have to keep some of them, though. We cannot, but in the others, we'll say in time to come, we'll get it done, and everybody will be happy in the end. But we have to go through this now because of the hand we were dealt from the past administration. And don't dwell too much on that either, because people understand that what is happening. What they want to know going forward, what can we do to make their life, make Trinidad and Tobago a better place. And we meaning the people in power and the government right now.
Mhm.
So
Well, Dr. Maraj, first of all, we have to clarify some things here, right?
yeah,
Um, the Prime Minister made some promises.
right,
She's not going back on the promises,
right,
right? She
right.
intends to bring those things forward. Now she has the people. We make the people understand, because some people may not understand this, right?
Mhm,
That
mhm,
she has to put certain things in place. The government has to get certain things rolling before we can deliver those goods and services that we promise you.
mhm,
And the difficulty right now is that because of what we inherited, yes, we inherited a worse situation that we may have thought, right? And but the government is not, her government, and the prime minister herself is not going back or intend to go back on her word. She intend to deliver this. It will just
mhm,
take a time, and no, in certain terms did she say it was going to happen instantly by flipping of her finger or a magic wand,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
So I mean, yes, we intend to do these things, but there's certain things that the government must do right now, and that is feed the people that needs to be fed immediately. There are some people who need to eat right now. There are some people who don't have food right now. I
mhm,
mean, like Dr. Rambo had to help me with some things.
mhm,
Suman had to help me with doing some stuff too.
mhm,
To dip in his own pocket, and a lot of people are dipping in their own pocket. But we have to understand that
mhm.
we have some people that you can't tell hold on, and that is where we have to understand that, because there is nothing to hold on to,
Right,
right? So
right.
we have to keep that in mind. But in the
Yes.
meantime, also, so there's some people who could hold on,
Mhm,
and then we have to set up a structure where people who can help are allowed to help, to be included, and
mhm,
to work with the government in driving that economy. That comes from the business people, and how and what role they can play. So all of these things, has to come into perspective. But yes, the government intends to deliver,
mhm.
but we must engage people, whether it's voluntarily or some way. Just like how we ourselves have volunteered. My team here have volunteered to assist, and we're doing a lot, and we're drafting plans, and giving ideas and suggestions, and and doing everything we can to assist.
Mhm.
So all these things must be clarified. Some people will need to understand, but the government has to understand also, definitely, that some people need to eat right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, sure. Um, so my thing is boosting the supply side of the foreign exchange. From day one, I was making the point to you all that what is the motivator in a free economy? It has to be profit. If people see profit, they must go after it. I'm, I always told you all that we have to hold on to the library. So many, remember I said this many times. We have to hold on to library. A few other seats, but really library and point. And I don't see why we couldn't. It's a low hanging fruit, but we have to work on it. But because I was reading something the other day, and they said that the Pitch Lake is one of the largest or the most attractive in the world. Nobody knew that. And do we have tourism? People want to visit a place like a Pitch Lake, or there's a time when the bird sanctuary was a big tourist attraction. I don't know what happened in recent years, but I mean, those were things that we left. Those are low hanging fruit for us, because we just had to go back and find out where we went wrong and pick it back. And because, but if we want tourists to come, we can't have crime like that. We have to take care. We have to control the
Right
crime.
now, we have to deal with some infrastructural issue, which I made some
Yeah,
recommendation
yeah,
for the
yeah.
bird sanctuary.
So,
Now, we have the total watching up in Togo Sanigan. We have Mr. Alonso here. I don't know if he's listening on, Mr. Alonso. Yeah. So, and there's a promotion of agricultural tourism, and
mhm,
I mean, just looking at Togo Sanigan by itself has so much to offer
yeah.
that we can utilize to drive our economy. Now, Dr. Molina spoke about wind energy that they're going to invest in, right? and Tocosani Grande on those on the eastern end of our country, there will be a perfect candidate, like one constituency there for that kind of wind energy area, because we have the land space and the geographic location. So wind energy, we have to develop the agriculture there and deal with the infrastructure, because I've been speaking to those people out there, and they are very eager and not asking for much to get their agricultural production going. They are ready. They have some things going already. So we have to just connect with the people on the ground there and listen to them and help them flush out the issue, because we're in charge now. But we have to act quickly. There's a lot of things that has to be done immediately, and then always the short term and long term plan. That's how we like to lay it out. But there's some things right now we have to deal with right now, and there's no waiting anymore. Some things we have to deal with right now. So I'm looking forward to see how this budget rolls out to meet the right now needs. These are the things that I'm interested in seeing happen. But there's a lot of potential in just Tocosani Grande again, and also the bird sanctuary. There's some infrastructural things that I had recommend, but that's going to take some money. But there's some cleaning up we can do in that area, and eventually we'll do some structural work. In accommodating the bird sanctuary and making it more accessible and making things much better there. So there are other places in the country that needs to be recognized, and it's just a matter of putting the things together. And we are in government; we need to do it now.
Yeah. So I know very well have a lot to say just now. So let me just continue. I also noticed that some important things he mentioned was about ministries or ministers have to do a bit more. I think he was saying something like that, where they have to perform. One of the things happened during the Jack Warner time, that was 2010, was ministries wanted more money, but they were limited in what the Minister of Finance was giving them. And therefore, they couldn't have done what they really wanted to do. And some ministers might be favorite and get it more than others. And there must be a way that the Prime Minister must put a foot down. If and when, I guess they know these things, I'd have to tell them these things. If and when the budget comes out and some ministries may think they get too less, ministers they needed more, and some may think that the other one go ahead. So I don't know, kind of internal bickering might also, because they all want to make their ministry better and the portfolio improved and do the best for whatever responsibility they have. But there's also a limit to what they can do, given that we have resources that are so limited and so meager. They have to work some magic, and therefore, what I'm saying is that I do not want them to get disgruntled after the budget comes out and they start to query that they're expecting that they didn't get this, and then and a little worried, but the holding it together, because we could have some problem down the road. I don't know if anybody share that view, or more than I do about those kinds of internal bickering that could arise in cabinet and even outside. So we got to look out for those kinds of things. And I always, just to remind you again that the pitch lake, I noticed to talk about the bird sanctuary or the bird watching or what have you, but the pitch lake is one thing I was interested in, because I know we have those 2 seats and we like to hold on to them, and the pitch lake might be, and they should, in fact, the ministers, they're all ministers, I think, they should come up with something to improve their neighborhood and where their members are from their constituencies. So
we have oil down there too. We have oil, exactly. But they didn't benefit from the oil. That is the complaint from Labrie and these places. And point 14 is that they didn't benefit from the oil under the PNM. So we need some serious infrastructural work done in those constituencies there.
Right. So that's why we want to hold on to those seats forever, really. But they are for the picking.
There has to be some integrity in how we do things, right?
Yes, certainly.
But Gary, if I may add, the pitch lake is no longer ours, you know that.
Yeah, I was about to say that too, because
we don't own the pitch lake anymore. It's owned by the Chinese.
Yeah, and that's why they were pushing for for Young to become prime minister, so he could give away more to certain country and lose control. But
Yes.
I was always saying that from day one, way before there was any inclination. But we will deal with that, eventually. But yes, I mean, it is part of the country that can be tourism. We have to work. Definitely, we have to deal with infrastructure again, accommodation, making the place accommodating. You don't invite guests if you don't clean up and organize your
Yeah.
place, right? So how can you market how can you market tourism when you're not prepared? There's a lot of parts of the country, other beaches that can be capitalized on the tourism. We have to make sure things are accommodating. We have to provide security. We have to provide infrastructure for restroom and people to in some places you have showers and things like that. Eating place. You make nice places like over here. We go down the shore here, or you go down what it is called down in Florida. What they call that place again there?
Miami Beach, Miami
Miami,
Beach,
the waterfront there. I forgot that. Where one A is down there. South Beach.
Bayside,
The street
Bayside,
restaurant. Yes,
Bayside and South Beach. Yeah.
yeah, South Beach, right? So I mean, you have restaurants. I mean, it is so. I mean, you go down to our beach area and you see the place is so run down and dilapidated and embarrassing. How can you? So these are easy fix. These are things that we can deal with. Provide some security, provide the necessary services, and market the country. You
My
know,
God.
we could
Gary,
do a hell of a lot.
that is my forte. I'm director of tourism, man. And I could tell you the problems I face. And the problem it's more deep rooted. No government coming in can solve these problems if they're not serious about tourism. Is only looked upon as a stepchild. You
Yeah,
know,
you have to be serious.
whatever you go, like okay, you're talking about a lot of tourists who come to Trinidad and Tobago and wanted to visit Beach Lake. But there are several robberies in the area. Several, for months. They will do all strategies, but they were not serious about it. They inform themselves in the community watch groups, have the local people from Labreak escorted tours to the pitch lake and so on, and they were robbing them in the pitch lake itself.
Hmm.
It was a serious problem, man. So could you imagine the negative publicity the country gets? It's better you do not have that on an international level, because once these guests come and they visit the pitch lake and they get robbed or they have some traumatic experience, they write about it. Once they hit these publications overseas and so on, the whole island suffers because
So
of
I
this.
got I got Mr. Alonso back in. So Wayne, I was talking about the. Are you hearing me, Wayne? Okay, are you
Yes,
there
I
now?
am.
Yeah.
Are
So
you hearing me?
I was referring to the total watching and the kind of things that we can capitalize in Toko Sangre Grande. I mentioned about the agricultural tourism. So there's quite a bit of resources there that we can use, not only to help the constituency but boost the tourism in the country. You had a young gentleman there who was out there cleaning up the little tourist area there by the beach and stuff like that we saw recently. So we definitely need, you could share a little bit of your, being that you are from that constituency and you handle that area. Let's give a little, idea of what things are needed that you feel like can help immediately with, driving the local tourism there, and then we could boost it internationally. But
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the thought of bringing the constituency of Toko Sangre Grande into a sort of national space. I think for too long it has been excised from national conversation as it relates to its unique offering in the area of tourism, not just agriculture, not just the land space, but you have a number of, what I call niche products. For example, nutmeg. People think that nutmeg is a Grenadian thing, but that's an offering that the constituency of Tokok Sangre Grande has in large abundance. I was speaking to someone the other day that talked about getting a market in Denmark that was ordering all the nutmegs from the coast, including tonka bean seeds that they were using for perfumes and that sort of thing. Right now, I'm working on two projects. One, well, as a matter of fact, that was my first offering.
We lost Wayne there. Wayne, you okay? What happened? Like his internet got weak. He got muted or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
hearing now. We lost you there for a little bit, but
Hello?
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead,
Okay.
Wayne. We're hearing you again.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that was my first proposal that I wrote up, which is to put 240 women, because understanding the uniqueness of the space and the challenges of the farmers, we feel that instead of having people cutting grass on the side of the road, that you can use the same budget and repurpose the program that is called CPEP, and give them to existing farmers. One, it will reduce the cost for production. It will put people to work and bring employment right at the doorstep of those constituents. And look at niche product. And some of those products I heard Ved talking about, potatoes and that sort of thing. So that's my other project, which is speaking with the university right now to have an out campus, what they describe as an agri-tourism park. I have just been able to get a family to offer 100 acres to the university for that purpose. And right now, the program is at a stage where they are preparing the proposal using 3D imaging to show you where everything is going to be. Gary, we need to talk privately because there are some sticking issues. I heard Ved qualified it correctly. A lot of square pegs in round holes. People who are not sensitive to using what they have to push for more. And
Yes, we will definitely will. We definitely have to have a meeting on that and the other things that we're working on. So definitely we will.
yeah,
Welcome, Dr. Ramrup. Yeah.
Hi. How are you guys? Good evening. Good evening.
So Dr. Ramrup got me an engineer that's willing to help us. So we'll talk more on that. Also, a civil engineer, and he's going to do everything to assist us up there. So we try and organize that meeting with those farmers. We were just waiting on you, Wayne, to kind of get
well,
that organized.
one of them reached out to me last week, Gary, and I'm planning to meet with them by Wednesday or Thursday. This is a group from Vega de Rupuch, some farmers, so that at least we could start that conversation to understanding their unique circumstances.
Right, so
I
let's
keep
work
telling
towards,
people in my
let's work
I-
to bringing them together, everybody together as you meet after you meet that team.
yeah.
So
Gary, may I interject here?
Go ahead.
A few years ago, I wrote an article in the papers entitled "Farmer's Time Has Come."
Yes, absolutely.
Farmer's time has come.
I see that too also.
Right. So the
And we
farmers
here
now
do
have
everything to
to get together and make demands of government. Some of those demands could be just non-monetary, and some of them could just be legislation. Some of them could just be protection. Now, as far as I could see, if we establish the objective to be self-sufficient in food over the next 5 years, I coined the slogan, just not eat what you grow, but also grow what you eat. Meaning to say, and as I mentioned the question of potatoes, I think we can grow that here, and therefore that becomes part of the supply to our staple diet. So many things can happen. I had mentioned about chicken feed. Sorghum can grow in Trinidad wild. Caroni planted fields of sorghum. That is with an aeroplane. And the report I got from one of the person who was involved in that project, that it grew so much they didn't know what to do with it. So I'm saying there's so many exciting things. This is what I want to emphasize: exciting. We can't be doing the same thing all over and over again. People get bored. They say, look, nothing can happen. But if we introduce what I would call some new projects for people at the Ministry of Agriculture that could feel excited about, that they're going to nurture and make it grow, make it happen. We are going to see, we're going to um, nurture the minds of very creative people. I believe everybody has the the capacity to expand their potential and experience. But once you're going through the same thing, you're coming to work in the morning, you're waiting till the evening. But if you have some exciting projects to work, I myself have planted a number of variety of trees. I'm not an agriculturist. I planted baobab trees. I planted sandalwood trees. And if you notice, there were sandalwood trees was embedded in the 2015 memorandum manifesto. Now, when I research, I mentioned I'm not an agriculturist, but if you look at how expensive those trees are, one of the most
Mhm.
expensive in the world. That is the red sandalwood and the white sandalwood. So these are things. Suppose we give the Ministry of Agriculture or the University of the West Indies, let's say 100 acres, plant 100, plant 10 acres in tree A, tree B, tree C, and ensure that we have developed the technical capacity to do so and roll it out throughout the country. Mahogany trees. Suppose we had planted mahogany trees since 2007. Do you know they would have almost been ready for cutting now in the abandoned sugarcane lands? So we are wasting time. We are wasting time. These things can be done tomorrow, just tomorrow. So okay, that's I'm glad that someone is seeing about it. I'm not seeing the name. If you can, perhaps we can get in touch and you can visit my farm. With regards to tourism, and if you look at Mauritius, when they converted all their sugarcane fields into something else, they maintained and they created tourist attraction with those sugarcane plantations. Now, if you notice over the last five years, I would say local investors are invested in a small way that will attract citizens of Trinidad to come and spend a weekend. They're building their little rooms, a few rooms, and so on, lovely cottages. So that is an area that we must emphasize, and the Ministry of Tourism must fund it, fund it, help nurture it, and expand it and increase it to such a level that it will be up to international standard. But let's walk before we run, and let us help those people who have already started these projects to come along up to an international standard. And if you notice as well, I don't know if how many of you are familiar with the economic program in Uttar Pradesh, where they have created district economy district. This district you all focus on producing A, B, and C, or the next one C and D, etc. And I, the government, will help you on a technical level, to ensure that you come up to international standards. And I, as a government, will help you with advertising and marketing it overseas. One particular product I remember, they call it the black rice. They produce black rice in that particular district. So they named it Buddha rice because that was the rice that Buddha ate when he came out of his meditation, right? So they named it Buddha rice, and they got extensive markets in the Buddhist country. So we need the technical support from government, much with the farmers' effort to produce things and bring it about to international standards. So all these things. This is where government has to get off their seats, and let us work with specific programs. All are not going to succeed. There will never be 100% success, but at least we'll be moving in the right direction.
Mhm.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I have to say
No, no,
Roger out.
no. Thanks, Will. You're quite right. You know, there are several inputs we can make as normal average citizens, but I got the impression, and I stick with my impression, that a lot of these suggestions and ideas, which we, the normal citizens, have, it doesn't fit into the grandeur or the big plans of what the ministers and the ministries have. So right away there is conflict there because they will have their own technical advisors who have been technical advisors for the past 20 and 30 years, doing the same old things the same way and ending up with very little results, you know. And this is a problem which we faced in the past. We are facing it at this point in time as well. As far as the solutions, the people here, you spoke about tourism, and that is the type of tourism we should first try. It's called
Can I ask
community-based.
if, hold on a second. Can I ask if you're not speaking, just mute your mic because I'm getting a feedback from somebody, some kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, there was some
Yeah,
kind of,
it's called community-based tourism. That you develop tourism from the community point of view. You utilize the services from the community. Utilize the food from the community. You self-police. Policing is done by the community. All is, you don't have to build no fancy, high-rise hotels. You build the same log cabins and so on, neat and nice. It's called the Castara model from the Castara area in Tobago. We developed that in there, and it has been very successful. In fact, the spend of the tourists, the money circulates in the community.
that is
I'll give you
exactly what we want to see. We want to make sure those local people
they are
benefit
the
the
many
most.
beneficiaries of it. So they
We try.
patronize the local guest houses, the local shops, local restaurants, the local farmers. You eat the foods grown by the community themselves. And when you leave with some artifacts or something, as a memorabilia. Look, I'll give you a good example. Antigua. Antigua makes a lot of money from the tourists. And when the statistics came out, in 2010, it was shown that 94 cents of the dollar is, is a leakage in the system. In other words, 94 cents of the dollar is spent by overseas food, liquor, and what have you. So only six cents on the dollar is what the average Antiguans were generating. So unlike the community tourism, basically where 80, 90, 100% is, the community itself gets rich. And this community-based tourism has so much other benefits. The community becomes sensitive now. Hey, we get in tourism to go here, let's keep the place clean. So sanitation things sort of improve. Washrooms, we have a problem in Trinidad and in Tobago. I'm sure all these ministers travel a lot overseas, all over the world. Can you say if there's a washroom anywhere on the highway if someone has to use it in emergency? In any of the highways? Can anybody say any lookouts, any of the lookouts and so on? So, we talk, we travel, we see, but when it comes down to implementing what we have to do, it all falls apart. That doesn't, you see, community-based tourism does not fit into the concept of tourism as you see in all their master plans. I think the feedback is more.
If I may add, you see, this will fit in to the policy of reducing our propensity to import
Correct.
And you're correct.
Correct.
If you go to a restaurant and you get local food, that circulates in the village, it circulates in the community. So what we
Yes.
need to do, and I would recommend, is that we can have a competition to for those who can produce menus about, let's say, for the day or for the week, menus that utilizes local input. um, and I think we might be surprised at what emerged from such a competition. And you recognize people who can come with innovative ideas using our local product. I mean, I think in is it in Idaho they make ice cream with potatoes. Now we can
Yep.
make probably
Yep.
ice cream with yams. I don't know, but I'm just saying
Yeah, no,
if
no,
we
no. But we listen in Tobago. We've been doing that since 2004. We have been making dashing ice cream
oh, there you are. Okay, well, why don't we
since
popularize it? And this is
2000.
where government comes in. This is where government must
Since
take up the mantle and walk with it. People have already spent time and effort and so on to produce it, and this is where government comes in. But they want to spend a lot of money to generate international tourism, and quite frankly,
uh,
that's not working. It's not
this
working.
is the point. This is the point. So, is one thing to generate the cash inflows, but the other thing is how much of that is stays in the economy, and this is you have to do the balancing act. Governments want to build 4-star, 5-star hotels. Yes, that's all well and good. But when you do that and you don't have enough food to feed these people, you don't have the airlift to bring them here, you have some of them have bad experiences, then you end up with a hotel which is 30-40% full for the year. The average room rate you can't match because they will have international prices in US dollars. And all these, a lot of impediments. Whereas when you have the community-based tourism, everybody gets a piece of the action. So if you have the same stores, I went to Martinique and I was surprised that I went to a farm. The farm had everything. I stayed in the farm. It had a conference room. They converted their cocoa house, which is what we had here back down south. They converted that to the conference room. And they
Exactly.
use everything from the thing. You eating pumpkin, pumpkin. I was shocked. I eat pumpkin exactly how my grandma will make pumpkin for me here. And I said, wait, all these people know how to make pumpkin like this. They use the cassava flour to make cassava bread. They use the chocolate tea, chocolate liquor if you want to have a nice
Yes.
drink in the
So
night.
what I want before Wayne gets kicked out again here, hello, are you here now, Wayne? You hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Yeah. So what I want to do is Suman is in Trinidad now. So as soon as we can get this meeting organized here. Paul Francis has a team of people. What's the name? Clifford made contact with you also. So as soon as we could pull together a meeting, I wanna get Vade and Suman up there, and possibly Dr. Hope we could spare some time up there in that meeting, and this new engineer guy that made contact through Dr. Hope today up there into that discussion. So as soon as we could get that meeting, maybe you put out a flyer, send out a message in the local vicinity that we're trying to get people. I'm doing whatever I can on remotely, but we need something that will reach these people. Clifford had about I think 10 or 11 people with him, and I'm not sure how much Paul Francis had, but we want to get those farmers and we want to get these guys here going and give you all that necessary support. I mean, we have the very qualified people up here, on this thing to really give you that support out there. So
And
we're gonna do everything to help ourselves.
I promise to do a position paper on the community-based tourism for Alonso. So,
Yeah, but I want to get this meeting going so that you guys, since you're in Trinidad, Dr. Aramop is there, and Vade is there, into that, one of those meetings there that, so so that we can get a bit and let the people hear from them directly too. So they know what resources they have at their disposal.
Well, what I think would work best is, like I said, there is one group already reached out to me. So I would like if probably I could know what day and time. Evening would be best for everyone.
Yeah, you have
My
to set
office.
that. You have to set that because we're waiting on you. That's why I told people we was going to
Okay.
get you. I was waiting for you to
Okay.
feel better. You to
All
feel
right.
better, and because Donnie's waiting on you also to organize the people there, and so maybe what would work good for you, like a weekend, or I don't know what maybe
I would say during the week, a Monday evening, a Wednesday evening, a Thursday
yeah.
evening will work best.
Yeah, I'm not
Tuesday
sure.
he comes to
All
the
right, so, I
office.
mean, for the initial meeting with those people, but I want to get a meeting where Dr. Rambo and Vade and Suman could come up also. So let's get the initial meeting with the people up there. You can sort out things with them. Maybe like I said, make a flyer and give them that we set in a date for a meeting. We want to get everybody.
Well,
As much as
again, it's only so much people I could seat in the office if I have to use the office. So I
right,
want to cater at least 15 people,
right.
because I have a space, that has the air condition and all that good stuff.
Right, or
Right?
maybe an evening time where they could sit outside too. But
No, we don't have that kind of facility.
yeah, okay.
Um, but like I said, there is a group already is reaching out, and maybe I could meet with them initially, and
Yes, what I'm
because
saying, meet
remember,
with them initially. Yeah, meet with them
yeah,
initially, and then we could take it from there. So meet with the different groups initially, and then we will take that next meeting where we get
okay,
everybody because I want to get this thing
okay, all right. So
right. I think. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, I have some other things to deal with before going to bed. I have a long day
Yeah.
tomorrow. The
So I
MPs
just
up
wanted to get
in
that in.
office.
Right. So we'll talk. We'll talk tomorrow because I got other things to talk to you about. All right. So thank you very much, Wayne. Whatever.
All right, have a good night, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks
Good night.
again.
Good night to
We're
everyone.
giving you all the support possible.
Okay, thank
Right.
you.
All right.
So,
Good.
so Sumant is in Trinidad.
Yeah, but I'm back here for a while. I
Oh gosh,
haven't
well, we
made up
have to
my
meet up,
mind.
man.
Yeah, yeah, and
Um,
so
okay, how long you'll be here for?
I haven't yet decided, but I may stick around for a while yet. I
Okay,
have
it's a
to
one-way
head.
ticket, right?
Yeah, I can come and go anytime.
Well, is there a
Since
number I can get you at?
huh?
Is there a telephone number I can get you
Yeah,
at?
Yes, yes,
I'll send it to
yes.
you. I'll send it to you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay, great,
Yeah,
wonderful.
because
right.
he's in the group. I'll send it to you directly. Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought they did it.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good night, everyone.
Take care. Thanks for the advice, Wade. Was well taken care of. And you hit the nail on the head. But the question is, how many of them are listening to us? And that's a big question mark.
Right. But we also have this. We have a lot more to talk about. And I mean, we've seen this corruption thing here. I saw Kinali posted. Where it's about $1.5 million located to a former minister daughter. So these things we will top on, sometime during the week when you guys have some time. We'll come back. I was trying to get Ken Ali here tonight to discuss this that he posted. So these are some of the things that we would have to look at also in relating to the financial aspect of things. But definitely, Toko Sangre Grande is a prime project, and we are helping with several different things, and we want to get it off the ground. We want to empower those people to help themselves, right? It can be totally government. The government could come in where the government needs to come in, but we want to give a certain amount of empowerment and advice on these people, for these people, so that they know how to help themselves, and we will advocate for their needs, for as what the government has to do. for them or needs to do for them. So we will support our MP there, Wayne Sturge, Minister of Defense. While he's taking care of all the national security issue, we will give him as much support as we can for the constituency. Whether it's tourism or any economic succession or whatever it is needed, we're doing as best as we can for him, the constituency and the country. So, gentlemen, any last words? Dr. Rambo, you have anything to add?
No, I think you guys, I mean, I joined late, but yeah, no, nothing.
We're on track, right?
Huh?
I said we're on track, right?
Well, once we try to help, it will be okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're giving them a very strong team here within yourself, Vade, Suman. Dr. Maharaj and I is remotely, but Suman is there now to join with you guys, and I want to get a visit for a meeting,
Sure.
So we're just waiting for them to organize themselves, but I don't want it to take too long because, so I want to get a jump on this. So
Sure.
I'm doing what I can remotely. I have two groups of people to meet with Wayne Alonso there. And it's the same issue with the farmers, the infrastructural issue, and a lot of they want some electricity there, and they will take the rest of the self. But we know also the the bureaucratic nonsense that the PNM had encaged the people with. We want to break those bondages, and so these are some of the things that we will have to address. As they're discovered. So we want to get more feedback from the people, and I want to get a meeting there where you and you guys can go up there and get first-hand knowledge. The people can see what kind of resources they have, that's willing to help them, and you guys can hear from them directly too. So I want to get that going. So any last words, gentlemen? Dr. Maharaj?
Yeah, let me just say that you all are on the right track now. That are hearing concrete things that are happening because plenty talk. I like to see action, and some of you mentioned it tonight. I'm talking about the community-based in investments and pulling resources together to get it done. Because I'm all for that rather than government and this and government and who will do it. I noticed some weeks ago or months ago, a month maybe, Dr. Rambo talked about having facilities in the beach where you could do this and do that, and all those are great ideas. But I started thinking back, even tonight when Cement was talking about the highway. I want to go on. Or even Dr. Rambo talked about Maracas, how you could have a place where you could pee. His words, so you could pee and you look out somewhere. So what was going through my mind? And still going through my mind, and some of you hitting it tonight. So is there a profit motive in there? Is there a feasibility study I could do that I would set up these toilets in these places and charge a small fee? And what will my break even? And could I, so in other words, is the entrepreneurial spirit, which is what you all are talking about going to San Grande and these places. It is that entrepreneurial spirit that Trinidad they have it, but it's how you take the risk. They are afraid, many of them might be afraid to take the risk to go into this venture, and so because they may not make in the end, and that feasibility study might help them there on some other, some kind of sacrifice can be made. But so you all on the right, get into my ballpark and understanding of how things ought to be done. Because I don't like government to do many things for me, like I said this many times. I like the entrepreneurial spirit of the people to be guided by profits, which many of you all already in it. You are already in it, so I don't have much to say on this except I like what you all are saying tonight, and I like comedy thing. But I need to know when who or what how we will get it off the ground, and is it feasible and is it profitable, and how do we know? And
the restroom stuff is the government have to take care of that. Because unless you privatize the beach, that's a different thing. Then you could charge a fee for these things and all this kind of thing. But the government have to take. We have to drive that, and I believe we have a strong enough team that we could deal with one constituency here to push that agenda to get those things put in place for the restrooms and then we will look at the the local business, like Suman was talking about the cottage type, type of structure where you build log cabin, you know,
cabins, concept,
and whatever it is, but the local, no big investor must come and kick these people out and then push them aside and force them and take away their land and come and push them out. You know, we want to give the people of Toko-Sangre Grande the opportunity to become entrepreneurs and you know, and use whatever they have. We are just providing the mechanics for them to build themselves in the technical advice and whatever we can to do, and the support, and they will have this channel here to back them up, you know. These are the things that you know, that I want to do what we can do to help them help themselves. So that's the part of it. But definitely, the restroom things and the accommodation for the tourists, the government has to work on these things, and we do engage the community participation. We encourage that, but the government have to do what the government has to do. As far as, you know,
Right, right. That's right. But nothing wrong in saying that private enterprise could build toilets and charge a fee and break even. That's what I mean. So government can't do everything. You know, the government. We want the government to do so many things, and this is our government. We have to stop asking them to do a lot of things. Or we got to do something.
But there's no reason with the amount of money that passed through Trinidad Dock. I am not letting government slide, but that's my government or anybody else, in the sense that there's certain things they can definitely handle, you know, because then you see you're going into a privatization kind of a thing there when private investors starts to if you go in that angle. I mean, that's not like the USA, like how we do things here. But definitely, those accommodation, the government needs to deal with it. There's no reason why we can't deal with it, the infrastructural issue. But the hotels and thing, the people can go into that private, the food production, the restaurant. I mean, they just need little help. And what I've seen so far and discovered is that there has been more obstacles in the people way, and more things to derail them than to assist them. And we want to try to flush that issue. We want to bring those issues on the forefront. We want to give those people a voice, you know, where they were suppressed, and deal with that, you know. And like I said, as long as you guys are with me on this, you know, we're going full-fledged ahead, full throttle.
Gary, may I comment? I don't know
Please,
if you all are aware, but when Prime Minister Modi came, he committed $300 million to Trinidad. So if we remain silent and don't request and don't ask for anything, that will just disappear. So I think the government, I don't know, I just came back, so I don't know if the government has set up a structure to pursue accessing that $300 million.
And I understand they made an offer of 800 artificial limbs that I understand is coming in this week or early next week.
Okay.
Prosthetic legs.
Okay, well, I will take leave. Thanks very much for everything.
Thank
Glad to
you,
be
man. How
chatting
about
with you all
you
again.
come back probably before the week is finished? You can come back on with us and cover
Yeah,
and recap
yeah,
things. All right.
certainly.
So Dr. Marj,
Yeah.
Dr. Anup, you know, thank you very much. Any
Yes.
last words? Anybody have anything else to say?
No, I'm good.
Good, right. So we will discuss the rest of the stuff offline. We will catch up with Mr. Alonso. We have Diwali to plan, and you know, some other things going there. So we will catch up on these things. Thank you very much, Dr. Marj.
Yeah. Good night.
Yeah, good
Any
night.
last words? Or that's it. You got anything to say else?
Good night to all. I'm okay. Yeah.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good night.
All right.
All right.
Come on.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we'll schedule the week.
As soon as I could close.